Walk into a coin shop with $50 and the guy behind the counter doesn't even look up from his phone. Walk in asking about 5,000 ounces, and suddenly someone's offering you a seat. Asking if you want water, and the owner himself appears from the back room like you just triggered a silent alarm. Same shop, same week, same silver. Meet Marcus and David, both guys, mid-30s, both read the same Reddit threads about inflation, both convinced the dollar's on borrowed time. The only difference is the weight of metal they're holding. Marcus owns 12 ounces, paid $32 an ounce, felt like a genius when spot hit $30, tried to sell last month and the dealer offered him $26.50. He walked out confused and a little angry, like he'd been cheated by rules nobody explained. David owns 4,200 ounces, pays within 75 cents of spot every time, gets a text message when estate collections come in before they hit the public floor. The same dealer who lowballed Marcus just offered David a buyback at 20 cents under spot and threw in free shipping. Same metal, same market, same dealer, but there's a specific set of thresholds, exact ounce counts, where the entire game flips, and once you see exactly where those lines are, you'll never walk into a coin shop the same way again. My name is Fininvest Logic, and I've spent years watching how this market actually works. If you've ever bought silver and felt like you got a worse deal than you deserved, hit subscribe, because today we're walking through every single tier, every threshold, and the exact ounce count where dealers stop seeing you as a transaction and start seeing you as a client worth keeping. Here's what you need to understand before any of this makes sense. In precious metals, there is no such thing as the price. There's spot, the number on the screen that updates every second. There's the premium, what the dealer charges on top of spot when you buy. There's the spread, the gap between what they'll sell to you and what they'll buy back from you. And there's your price, which is all three of those things filtered through one variable: how much metal you already own. You think you're buying silver. The dealer sees you buying a position in a hierarchy. And most people spend years stuck at the bottom of that hierarchy, paying retail, selling wholesale, funding the margins that pay for the guys at the top to get called by their first name. Quick disclaimer: I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. I'm just a guy who's watched the same patterns repeat in the same shops for the same reasons. Do your own research. Now, let's go. Let's start with Marcus, because Marcus is where almost everybody starts. He walked into a local coin shop last year with a $100 bill, feeling like he was about to do something smart. Silver was sitting around $28 an ounce on the spot market. He figured he'd grab 3 or 4 ounces, tuck them away, hedge against inflation, sleep a little better. The dealer showed him a tube of Silver Eagles. Told him they're the most liquid, the most recognized, the easiest to sell. $39 each. Marcus didn't know enough to flinch. He bought 3, paid $117 out the door. Here's what just happened. Spot was $28. The premium was $11 per ounce, a 39% markup. A fair premium on a Silver Eagle typically runs about $4 to $6 over spot in a healthy market. But when you're buying in tiny quantities, dealers charge what the market will bear. Marcus didn't just overpay. He also locked himself into a spread he didn't see coming. 6 months later, spot silver climbed to $30. Marcus thought, perfect, I'm up. He brought his 3 Eagles back to the same shop, expecting to at least break even. The dealer offered him $26.50 per ounce, $79.50 total. Marcus paid $117. The metal went up in price, and his buyback offer was $79.50. He didn't lose money because silver dropped. He lost money because the spread swallowed him whole. He bought at $11 over spot. The dealer buys back at $3.50 under spot. That's a $14.50 spread per ounce. For Marcus to break even, spot silver would need to climb from $28 to $42.50, a 52% increase just to get back the cash he started with. That's not investing. That's renting silver. The average premium on a Silver Eagle for a sub-10-ounce purchase runs between $8 and $12 over spot. The buyback on that same coin, typically $2 to $4 under spot. That's a $10 to $16 spread on a $30 piece of metal, a 33% to 53% round-trip cost. Picture buying a stock and your brokerage charging you a 40% fee just to get in and out. You'd never do it. But people do it with silver every single day because the fee is hidden inside something called a premium. So what changes? How do you stop being Marcus? The answer is a number. Let me show you where the first line is. Here's where it starts to shift, around 20 ounces, or about $600 to $700 in a single transaction. That's the point where most dealers start seeing you differently. Not as a client yet, but as someone who might become one. Let's say Marcus comes back, but this time he's done some homework. He's watched a few videos, joined a couple forums, learned the word spot, learned that Silver Eagles aren't the only thing that exists. He's got $1,000, and he's ready to buy smarter. He asks for a tube of generic rounds, 25 ounces. No government mint, no fancy design, just .999 fine silver. The dealer quotes him $31.50 per ounce when spot is sitting at $29. That's a $2.50 premium. That's not great, but it's not $11 over. Marcus just cut his entry cost by 77% simply by buying more at once and stepping down from the brand name product. Now watch what happens on the back end. 6 months later, spot is at $32. Marcus brings the tube back in. The dealer offers him $30.50 per ounce, $1.50 under spot. Marcus walks out with $762.50 on a $787.50 buy-in. He's still down, but only by about $25. Compare that to his 3 Eagles, bought for $117, offered $79.50, down $37.50 on 3 ounces, with the tube down $25 on 25 ounces. Same market, same dealer. The only difference was the size of the stack and the choice of product. Here's the threshold that matters. Once you cross about 20 to 30 ounces in a single buy, you unlock access to generics. You're paying $2 to $4 over spot and selling back at $1 to $2 under. A $3 to $6 spread. Still a fee, but one you can overcome with a decent move in spot. This is also the tier where you start getting callbacks. You become a repeat customer. The dealer starts recognizing you. Maybe they set aside a few pieces from an estate sale. You're not in the inner circle, but you're not invisible anymore either. But here's the thing, this tier is comfortable. And comfortable is where most people stop. They build up to 50, 75, maybe 100 ounces. They feel smart, and they never find out what's on the other side of the next line. Because the next line, that's where the dealer's entire tone changes. Let's talk about David. David started exactly like Marcus, couple ounces here and there. Got burned on the spreads, got smarter, started buying tubes. But David didn't stop at 100 ounces. He kept going. Slowly, $500 a month, like clockwork. Took him about 3 years, but eventually, he crossed 500 ounces. That's roughly $15,000 at today's prices. And that's when the phone calls started. The dealer, same guy, who wouldn't budge a dime on Marcus's 3 eagles, called David personally to let him know a local estate was selling a monster box of silver eagles, and he could have it at $3.50 over spot if he wanted it that day. No public listing, no competition, just a courtesy call. David bought it. 500 coins, added it to his stack. Paid $3.50 over when the website still showed $6 over 4 single tubes. Same dealer, same coins, half the premium. Here's what you need to understand. Once you own about 300 to 500 ounces, you stop being a customer and start being inventory stabilization. Dealers don't just sell metal, they manage liquidity. They need to move product fast, keep cash flowing, and avoid sitting on large positions when spot is volatile. A guy buying 3 ounces doesn't help with that. A guy buying 50 ounces a month does. You become a release valve. When they buy an estate collection, they need to move it before the price shifts against them. They can list it online and wait, or they can call David, offer him a deal, and clear half the inventory that afternoon. David doesn't just get better premiums, he gets first access. He sees the good stuff before it hits the case. He gets texts with photos of odd-weight bars and foreign sovereigns that didn't come through normal channels. This is also the tier where buybacks flip. The dealer doesn't lowball David, because the dealer knows if he lowballs David, David will drive 20 minutes to the next shop and never come back. The dealer would rather pay David 50 cents under spot, keep the relationship, and know that next month David's dropping another $1,500. At this level, $2 to $3.50 over spot buying, 50 cents to $1 under spot selling. A $2 move in spot puts you in profit. But here's the thing almost nobody talks about. This tier is also where you start getting offers for gold, platinum, numismatic coins. A silver eagle at $3 over makes them $3. A $2,000 St. Gaudens might carry a $400 margin. They want to move you up the ladder. No, that's what's happening. This is where it stops being a hobby and starts being a position. Let's say David keeps stacking. He's methodical. He's patient. He hits 1,000 ounces. Then 1,500. Then one day, he walks into the shop and casually mentions he's sitting on 3,000 ounces and he's thinking about adding another 500. The dealer's entire body language changes. He's no longer selling. He's courting. Suddenly, David's not paying premiums in the traditional sense. He's negotiating bulk rates directly with the dealer's supplier. The dealer is making calls on his behalf to wholesalers, checking refinery allocations, asking if David wants to go in on a lot of kilobars that just came available under melt. At this level, the premiums are $1 to $2 over spot. Sometimes less. I've seen whales buy a 1,000-ounce Comex bar at 75 cents over spot because the dealer needed to move it and knew this guy could write the check same day and the buyback. Forget $2 under. At this tier, dealers buy back at spot, sometimes 10 or 20 cents over if they've got a buyer lined up and need the inventory right now. Let's put real numbers on it. Marcus bought 3 ounces for $117, offered $79.50 back, down $37.50. That's a minus 32% loss, even though silver's price stayed flat. David bought 1,000 ounces at $30.50 per ounce, $1.50 over spot at $29. Total outlay, $30,500. 6 months later, spot hits $32. He sells back at $31.80. He walks out with $31,800. He made $1,300 on a $30,500 position in 6 months. A 4.2% return in a flat to slightly up market, after spreads, after fees, after everything. Marcus lost a third of his money in the same market because the structure ate him alive. David made money because the structure bent around him. The customer the dealer loves most is not the whale. It's the guy buying 5 ounces a month at $8 over spot, convinced he's stacking wealth while he's actually stacking the dealer's margin. To dodge that, you need size. Not because size makes you smarter. Because size makes you expensive to lose. Here's the part that matters more than any number I've given you. What changes at 500 ounces isn't really the premium. It's what the metal does to your decisions. When you've got 3 ounces in a drawer, you're a collector. It's a novelty. You check the price when you're bored. You think about selling when spot jumps $5. You're emotionally twitchy because the position is small enough to feel like a trade. When you've got 500 ounces in a safe, you stop checking the price every day. You stop flinching at volatility. You're not selling because spot moved, you're holding because you understand what the position is actually for. It's a cushion, it's a hedge. It's a walkaway fund that doesn't evaporate when someone at the Federal Reserve says the wrong thing on a Wednesday. Marcus checks his 3 silver eagles like they're a lottery ticket. David checks his 3,000 ounces like they're a foundation. Same metal, different psychology. Scarcity makes you impulsive. A position makes you patient. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The precious metals market isn't rigged against you by villains in a back room. It's just optimized around a customer who buys small, sells scared, and never builds enough size to demand respect. That customer pays $8 over and sells $3 under forever. That customer is the margin. The whole game runs on people staying small. So when people ask me, at what point does a dealer actually treat you like you matter? The honest answer is this: the moment you become more expensive to lose than to keep. That's somewhere in the 300 to 500 range, depending on the shop. You don't beat the system by being smarter. You beat it by being too big to ignore. Now, one more thing, and it ties directly into everything I just said. The most common question I get is, okay, but how do I actually track fair premiums, know when I'm being taken, and build a position without getting crushed on spreads? So I built something. It's a community where I break down live dealer pricing every week, track premium trends across product types, show you exactly where the thresholds are in real time, and walk you through how to buy size without buying stupid. I've helped people go from 5-ounce buyers paying $9 over to 200 down stackers paying $2.50 over in less than a year. Not because they got lucky, because they learned how the map works. Links in the description. It'll be there when you're ready. No pressure, no upsell countdown timer. Just the system, laid out clean. Now think back to Marcus and David from the very beginning. Same age, same income, same market. The only real difference was never luck. It was which side of the threshold they were standing on. Marcus bought 3 ounces and got charged like a tourist. David bought in size and got called by name. Marcus isn't dumb. He just stayed small. And small customers get small customer treatment. That's not cruelty. It's just math. David isn't a genius. He just kept stacking past the point where most people stop. That line is not a personality trait. It's not a talent. It's an ounce count. An ounce counts can be reached. Stop buying 3 ounces at $11 over. Start buying 20 at $3 over. Stop selling scared at $3 under. Start holding until you're big enough to sell at 50 cents under. Let the dealer start texting you first. Now go, cross the threshold.